Hello, good afternoon, Justice Warriors. I am having to do a pre-recorded because I'm having trouble with my internet connection. So my apologies for that. But I've got some really good notes to share. You know, you guys know how devastated I am about the death of Kylie Rodney. And I'm also extremely devastated over the death of Trinity Backus. I'm devastated over the death of any child, especially young people. It just is beyond me. So here we are on YouTube trying to ask some good questions, trying to figure out what the heck is going on over in Nevada County in California, right? And it's upsetting some people. And, some people have every right to be upset. People that have lost a loved one. I mean, we're upset and we didn't even know them, right? Let me just say right here my disclosure statement. Everything I say is my opinion only. It's purely speculation for the sake of conversation and opening up a discussion. I hope that my YouTube podcasts can be educational. Sometimes they're entertaining. That's not what they're geared towards, but it's YouTube, so it is what it is, right? Just like television, but our modern day technology. So, in speaking to both of these cases, Kylie Rodney and Trinity Backus, there are some distinct parallels and similarities. And it seems as though the more we learn about Trinity's case, the more connections there are, and the more um, common denominators. I'm not saying that these two are part of each other and part of some big conspiracy. I'm just saying that it's interesting to look at the similarities. So we've got two 16-year-olds, two Caucasian, tall, beautiful, thin, striking, athletic, just gorgeous and very exotic looking teenagers. They both had fathers that were kind of estranged from the family. They didn't have the strongest connections with their dads. They both have mothers that have remarried and had other children. So, what would that be? Not step, but half siblings. And I'm not 100% sure that Lindsay and Daniel Rodney were ever married. It could be that both children were born out of wedlock. It sounds as though Trinity Backus's biological father was probably not married to her mother. But, what's important is that these girls were healthy and alive, and then they're not alive. That's what's important. That's what's super important to look at, especially when there's potentially a pattern in a certain area of Nevada County, California. So both of these young beauties allegedly had contusions to their head when they were found. They were both missing persons, discovered then deceased outdoors in nature. They were both with their friends when they went missing. Friends, frenemies. Both were under the influence, allegedly, according to the frenemies that they were hanging with when they went missing and then were later discovered deceased. And they both had green eyes, long hair. I talked about the tall, thin, and beautiful. So they're both big sisters. Neither one of them has any older siblings. And I think that that's relevant in reference to that our older siblings often protect us the way parents would protect us. So neither of them had that. Wouldn't it have been nice if one of them had a big brother or a big sister that was going to kick somebody's ass that messed with them? I mean, seriously. Seriously. All right. So they both had their own cars. And that's really not a good thing to give a 16-year-old full access to their own car and independence just to like run amok and run wild? Who does that? Who does that? Especially in a large, like, rural area, where there's just lots of open roads, lots of dangerous roads, lots of not well lit roads. I mean, if they're driving in the dark and they have a flat tire, that's just not a very responsible thing to do, I think, as a parent. You got to keep your kids supervised. You got to keep them under your care and your watch, especially young women at that age. Are you kidding me? So I want to say, or I want to question the homes that these girls lived in. Did they feel at home in their homes, or did they have a tendency to stay other places? Did they have a tendency to not sleep at home for one reason or another? Was it uncomfortable? Were they not on good terms with their parents? It's, I think, a good question to ask because it seems as though there's almost a sense of homelessness with both of them, especially in Trinity's case. It's very sketchy what her living arrangement was, what her mother's living arrangement is. Who knows? Who knows? So it's almost like a potentially a chosen homelessness or like a pseudo homelessness. I mean, homelessness is a big deal. I don't want to lighten that reality for people who are suffering from that without any kind of choice at all, right? But as 16-year-old girls running around with their friends with their own cars, were they just like sleeping out in their cars on occasion? Were they sleeping at their boyfriends' houses? Were they sleeping at their girlfriends' houses? Were they sleeping at their own houses? Were they sleeping at their fake aunts' houses? Were they sleeping at their parents' BFFs' houses? I mean, that's just not right. You know, it's just not right. So I am very curious about the people that were close to Trinity that have been going on social media and being extremely defensive and attacking when they haven't even had a chance to mourn the loss of their loved one. They haven't even had a service yet. And here they are running around YouTube and Facebook. Not a good look, people. Not a good look. If I had somebody close to me, God forbid, pass away in such bizarre circumstances, I would not be the least bit defensive for people asking me questions about it. Of course, people are going to ask questions about it. Of course, that's natural. And it would be irresponsible for law enforcement to not ask questions about it. Am I right? I think the law enforcement is a huge, huge problem here. So, I'm also kind of shaken up by Francis Fowler's history with his other girlfriend a year ago that died in a hit and run at 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m. on a dark October night, October 30th to be exact, so the day before Halloween. Allegedly, they were skateboarding around on ecstasy and she got hit by a car and it was a hit and run. It happened right in front of him. And then the person who committed the hit and run turned themselves in 12 hours later and essentially got sentenced to wearing an ankle bracelet for a felony fatal hit and run. So not only did they kill somebody, they also fled the scene. Who knows? If she had gotten the girl in her car, she might have been able to take her to the hospital and save her life. Or if she just stood around and called 911. So I don't know all the details there, like if Francis is the one who called 911. I mean, since he was high on drugs and his girlfriend was dead, who knows? Who knows? Maybe he can tell us. He seems to want to come out and speak on the YouTube channels. So it's odd. He also says that Francis, was together with Trinity for about 6 months when this happened last week, when she died, and that it was one of the first nights that they spent apart. So I'm wondering what that means. Does that mean that they actually slept the whole night together, like at her house or at his house or at her fake aunt's house? I don't know. It's curious to me. It's curious to me that he used that language, that they spent the night together pretty much every night for 6 months, and that that was one of the few nights they weren't together. So, I'm sure he's got some survivor's guilt at the very least, but the fact that he's 17 years old and has had two girlfriends that look like each other, they're doppelgangers, mind you, it's very, very curious. Very curious. So let me talk about lightning striking for a moment, all right? Because it's uncommon that as a teenager, somebody that we're going steady with is going to die in our company. Fortunately, that's a very, very slim to nil chances of that ever happening, right? Chances of getting struck by lightning could be as low as 1 in 15,000, depending on the sources that you check. Chances of getting struck by lightning twice, your chances of getting struck by lightning a second time are much higher the second time around. And I'll tell you why. It's because the lightning knows you, it knows your pathway in your body, and it knows how to find you better than somebody who has not been struck by lightning before. So, it's almost like that with this kid, Francis. Like, the chances of one girlfriend dying in his company and then another girlfriend dying, allegedly not in his company, but nonetheless, very, very odd and concerning. I mean, obviously it's concerning for him on an emotional level that he's dealing with such grief. It's also concerning that he would be defensive about it. Like, that's a weird thing. I mean, it's unusual to say the least, right? I mean, that's an understatement. Come on. So it would be irresponsible for people to not be asking questions like, "What is up with you and all the dying girlfriends around you that happen to be twins looking exactly alike each other? What is up with that?" So, I wanted to let you guys know that I did find the information on who to contact for the county supervisors if you're interested in asking them questions about their law enforcement. All right. So, in Nevada County, there are 5 districts, and there are uh, there's one person assigned to each district. So the first district is Heidi Hall. Second district is Ed Schofield. Third district is Dan Miller. Fourth district is the chair, Susan Hawk. And the fifth district is Hardy Bullock. So they have a phone number and they have 2 email addresses that I was able to find online with a simple Google search. And I'll give those to you just once. I won't repeat them because you can look it up. You can Google it yourself if you really want to reach out and contact these people. The phone number for the county supervisors is 530-265-1480. And the email is BOS public comment at nevadacounty.gov or BD of supervisors at nevadacountyca.gov. So, yeah, I think that it is a very honorable thing to send an email or a phone call to these supervisors. Oh, and let me add that Hardy Bullock District 5 is the district where the Lost Trail Lodge is. So that would be the district number 5 for Kylie Rodney. I'm not sure which district it would be for Trinity Backus. That's harder to tell. But I would say contacting Susan Hawk, the chair, she could tell you, I'm sure, no doubt. So it's also very concerning to me that both of these teenagers were found on federal property. I had questioned that yesterday and said that I would look into it, and I did. And yeah, Trinity Bacchus was found on federal forest land as well as we all know that Kylie Rodney was. So that's concerning because, the federal land has kind of their own little FBI kind of thing, and they also contract with the likes of Sammy Smith's mommy and daddy. And Trinity was at her aunt's house that is right near the federal national park, but her body was found on the federal national park land. And I'm just not buying this whole story about Ashley coming home and seeing Trinity's car and forgetting that she had asked about a sleepover, and she'd been at her friend's house making Christmas posters, and then she went in the house and she saw them in the living room with a giant mess, and she told them to clean the damn mess up. And then later, Trinity was braiding her hair and putting it in knots, and so she got really mad at Trinity again. And then Trinity wanted the paints, and so she texted to her to tell her that they were like out in the shed, and my goodness. So she was in two disagreements with Trinity in that short space of time, the few hours from the time that she got to her house, and they had maybe trashed it, and she was upset. And then the four of them were sitting on the bed, the boyfriend, ex-boyfriend Logan, and Trinity and Hannah and Ashley were all on the bed so that Trinity could braid her hair. Really? Are you sure that's what was happening on the bed? Because that's weird. It's weird. It is not a normal thing to have four people sitting on a bed so that one person can braid the hair of another person. And then they're being mean and they're tying it in knots, and then you're getting mad. And what, was there a fight on the bed? Was there hair being pulled in the bed? And what about the shed? The paint was in the shed and she was texting her about it. She wanted to paint because she loves to paint. Like, so Trinity went into the shed? Like, did she actually go into the shed or was she put in the shed? These are valid questions, people. There's something up. There's definitely something up with these people who are just like, oh, well, she died and quit blaming us. Goodbye now. Absolutely not. You're responsible. You are the adult responsible for the safety of a child. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. So on that, I'm going to wrap it up. I appreciate you guys watching my podcasts. If you feel so inclined, please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I always like to close with reminding all of us, myself included, to take care of ourselves, drink a lot of water, eat healthy food, high protein, fruits and veggies, get our exercise, get our rest, stretch, be kind to ourselves, be kind to other people, and just be well. Take care of yourself and do something really nice for yourself, do something really nice for somebody else. And we will see you on the next one. Thanks again. Have a great day.